Chapter 20, Union of the Twilight. The hardest part lies in accepting death and dealing with the consequences. Cheshki, of Legends and Masks by Althea of Rosibo. Luce. I should have seen this coming. I barely heard the scene. I buried my face in my hands. We must go, Luce. You have to go before she comes back. I thought of that day. The great fire of Luce. The fires have visited me in my dreams almost every night. The king and Grand Duke saw that everyone was tired, demoralized, and scared, and decided to host a party at the Luce estate, Lord Elias's and Lord Lucian's family home, in hopes that it would raise everyone's spirits. And the queen wanted everyone out of the palace so she could meet with her generals undisturbed. However, blockade runners had gotten in and burned it to the ground. No one was sure who, but there was a lieutenant named Aniska who had the reputation of leaving a trail of burned houses and orphan children behind him. And 10 people had died. My parents, my brother, the king, Princess Jewel, Minerva the weaver, Shord, a traveling musician who got stuck behind the walls when the siege started, Solwall, the blacksmith, Marchier Sucel, the candle maker, and Chadel, the baker. Luce, we need to go before she comes back, Athena said in Sylish, snapping me out of my thoughts. I followed my friends back to Ranka and Sol's old cave. It was the same as when we left it, not much in the way of decoration or furniture or things in general. Before Kate sat down, Athena took out one of her books and started reading. I sat next to her, crying, knitting, and talking to myself in Sylish. As much as I tried to avoid it, the grey fire of Luce entered my thoughts again. The heat of the flames, the scent of burned clothes and hair and skin, the feeling of Princess for a sweaty hand, the sound of burning wool. My breathing and heart rate quickened. I gripped my skirts and shut my eyes, trying to keep the memories back. Then I opened them, realized that Athena was trying to get my attention. "What is it?" I asked. "You need to treat our injuries," she said. "Oh, reach for my stuff. Yes." I treated before kids burns and did the best I could for my nose and Athena's arm. "Is there a doctor around here?" I asked. She looked thoughtful. Possibly. It's a small town, but I'm sure they have something. How should we travel, and how are we going to explain this?" "Well, you and I could travel together and stagger our visits with proper case, and say we slipped and he burned himself cooking." She frowned. "No, that wouldn't work." She looked at Provokit. "Bonfires at birthdays are a draconic tradition, right?" He shrugged. "I do not know." She sighed. "Why do I still ask you these questions? Perhaps the doctor won't question it, or will know whether or not that's actually a tradition. Perhaps." We got our cloaks and found the doctor, a young Vix man. He raised an eyebrow at Pavok's injuries, but didn't question it, saying he saw injuries that were much more suspicious every day. He treated our injuries, and we managed to scrape the money he charged together, and then we returned to the cave. When we returned, I asked Athena, "Were you able to get your research?" "I brought everything I'd been packing. It's in there somewhere," she answered. I paused. "So, what do we do now?" "He's dead." "We'll never hear sarcastic comments again." I could feel tears in my eyes. She raised an eyebrow. "You miss those?" I started crying again. "I'll miss him. He was sarcastic and annoying most of the times, but I think he really cared about us, and someone else he loved too." "Probably his wife or daughter," she said thoughtfully. "Maybe even her sister." "That means he left behind someone close to him, and he probably never got to tell her goodbye, and she must just think she left." And I started crying again. She hugged me. "We'll all miss him, but we can't just sit here and be sad forever." "You're right." I wiped my face with my sleeve. I'm going to get some fabric. I want to make dresses again. You're going to sew again? I nodded. Yes. She put down her book. I can come with you if you want. Please do. It was almost a whisper. The two of us flew out of the cave and asked around for a fabric shop. The librarian's sister apparently owned one, so we went there. I wanted blue fabric, but that was too expensive in the shades I wanted. And there was no king to give us this extra fabric as there was an Alder. After that, we returned to Wandga in Sol's cave, and I started sewing. I'd made many dresses before, helping my mom make clothes for our family and neighbors. I still love it. Needlework was to me as books were to my sister. But it was hard for me after losing Lee. She had clearly been crying. All right, what in Athena's name happened? She frowned and looked around. Where's Sol? Right here, said Sol, his faint form curling next to her. A few things made it easier to see wanderers. The stories said that Vixor, especially children, and Vixor who were close nations, saw them just as a person, but in black and white. And other than that, children and people of the same age, or same species or of a similar age, had an easier time seeing them. She said, Never mind. Anyway, what happened? Mercenary, and not like the ones from the book, but so strange man had to solve an inheritance dispute that was far too intense. Anyway, she killed Apollo and separated Sorcerer from his body, said Athena. What was that about an inheritance dispute? Pavokit asked. Great book, she frowned. I don't remember the name though. Anyway, la Sœur Zorelli, also known as Ariel, whose full name I believe is Shejus Sabelin Ariel Sholsor Rosary of Shol. The draconic elder during the Iron War to go beyond the front lines and harass the Lepusian-Sylish forces. From what I know, her main skills are with a sword, a knife, and magic. She stopped working for Draco when the Shkropa started invading, and Syl and Lepus became more valuable. Not sure why she thought it would be a good idea to perform this naissance, considering her history. Oh, said Pavokit. The Emperor hired her to enter Pavokit, and, by extension, the rest of us. We could not fight her off, and he sacrificed himself, so we would have time to get out. She took out Tolapalo's note. He left a note for you. Andgar sat next to her, interested. Really? What does it say? She... Sì, una giarala. Scatta potano la sia arata in pastaria. Pota. Contrafand. In the language that I speak? Athena sighed and thought for a moment. You were a general leading an army into battle. Lead. She thought about that for a moment before saying, a friend of mine offered to let us stay with her, since we do not exactly have a home. She just told to the cave around us. What do you think? I have told her a little about you, so she knows that we will be living with this niece and daughter. Better than living in a cave, said Athena. We packed our bags, put on our cloaks, and followed Franca out of the cave to her friend's house. She knocked on the door, and a Vix around her age with grey eyes and fur opened it. Franca, and these are your friends, right? She said. She frowned and sniffed the airs and looked over at Sol, who was nearby his sister. And so that she's a wanderer now. I assume you will explain that to me later? Hello, Aileen. You have asked your parents about this, right? One gasped. Yes, since they were polite, sister. She smiled. We are always happy to help out a friend. Grandpa smiled. Of course. Well, come in. She opens the door wider. You may stay in the basement. Someone else is already there. Kronia around our age. Sounds great. There was a pause they looked at us before we realized they wanted our input too. We are here, are we not? Said Athena. Pavokit and I murmured in agreement. Well then, follow me. We followed her inside into a nearly invisible door. Behind the door was a stairwell that led to a large room made of wood. Food stores as well as a bed were by one wall. As Eileen said, a young Konya was sitting on the bed. She was a little above average height, but looked thin and stretched out. So whether this was because she had not had enough to eat, or age, or some combination of the two, I did not know. She had dark grey fur and brown eyes, and wore dark blue robe and green peasant scarves that fell to her ankles rather than the floor, like those of a noble woman would. It was traditional of unmarried Lepusian women and girls. Sleeves were long and loose like bells, and she stood as an hour of propriety. Yes, she was maybe a merchant's daughter. When she saw us, she leapt up, eyes wide, and then composed herself, clasping her hands at her waist like a proper lady. "Who are you?" she said. "Nocza." The appearance of the stranger startled me. There was the Vix, who kept glaring at the transparent form of another Vix beside her, and at the color scheme of the Vixic protest flag, with their red vest, blue eyes, and white fur. The small dragon, by their standards, who looked like he was trying to find an opportunity to apologize for something. The fairy, wearing a black veil embroidered with gold, whose hands were twitching like she was knitting, and looked like she had spent a long time crying, and looked quite young to be married. And the fairy next to her, wearing two hats over long, wild, curly hair and piercing grey eyes that stared at me from a pair of thick, round glasses, as if looking into my soul. It was the fairy, rather than the dragon, who had startled me, who had made me scramble back. What did she know? I thought. I composed myself. "Who are you?" I asked. "Panosamia Nocza, this is Juanka, my friend, and her friends and resistance group members," Eileen said. The fairy with the glasses frowned at my name, making me flinch. "I told you they were coming, remember?" I nodded. Eileen turned to her. "Would you like to introduce them?" The Vix nodded and pointed to the dragon. "This is Pavokit. Don't worry, he's on our side. My brother's soul was ripped from his body and our mentor died because the Emperor wants him. That is Pavokit dead." I flinched at the Empress mentioned. She pointed to the veiled fairy. "This is Luzelus. Mademoiselle Luzelus," the fairy corrected her. "Yes, I'm sorry. She and Mary just don't like her hair." Mademoiselle Luzelus adjusted her veil self-consciously. Warnka pointed to the other fairy. "And this is Mademoiselle Athena, who don't like nicknames." "Nocza is short for Nobiosha, right?" Mademoiselle Athena asked me. She held my eyes intently to the point it was intimidating. And Draconic was also quite good. I wondered how she had learned it. I nodded. "So you're the girl from the wanted posters?" I nodded. "What did she do?" Wenka asked. "Helping conspirators and escaping from prison," Mademoiselle Athena said. She said something to Mademoiselle Lepusian-Sylish. Wenka looked back at me. "Would you like to tell us a true story?" I fidgeted, trying to keep the memories of Luskesia's execution back. Not the first one. I was never the rebellious one. It was technically the truth, but misleading. They did not need to know what she had done for me. "Who was?" Athena asked. I fidgeted again, blinking back tears. "Athena, she doesn't want to talk about it." said Mademoiselle Luzelus. She spoke Draconic mostly fluidly, but her accent was strong. Mademoiselle Luzelus sighed and sat down, taking out the book on Arachne's history. Juanka turned to Eileen. "Could you show me Peparuka's drawings?" Eileen's eyes lit up. "I can! Let me get them!" Eileen walked over to a box and pulled out a stack of papers. Mademoiselle Athena looked up. What?" "My friend, Peparuka, she draws for Hawanen," Juanka explained. I walked over to them, curious. "The papers were drawings of flags, except they were circles instead of rectangles. Well, except the Kingdom of Thol and East Thol were shaped like their flags. That isn't. One that was red and light, with what appeared to be blue buttons for eyes. Celestina was studying them intently. I wondered what she was thinking. How did you learn to read? I asked. She shrugged. I was a very determined child, and Lucien was a very annoying one. I frowned. Who is Lucien? The son of a local baron. She frowned. His parents are very nice people. I wonder why the sons are not. I looked at her, baffled. You would disrespect the baron's son like that? She shrugged. You only understood her to spite me. His brother's a true and not just because he's 5 minutes older. I blinked. Can you read? She asked. I fidgeted a bit, weighing my options, then decided. Yes. How did you learn? I fidgeted again. This was feeling less like a conversation and more like an interrogation. My cousin, Luskezia. I can easily lie to Synnisian soldiers, but a girl half my size making eye contact is intimidating, I thought. A diminutive of Ludicia, correct? I nodded. Why did your parents not teach you? Because they not read? I shook my head. They died when I was young. They had wanted to raise their daughter in a peaceful world. The Synnisians had other ideas. Oh. I fidgeted, holding aside. She don't want to talk about it, so don't ask about it. She sighed too. I studied the drawings. Most of them seem to be about the war, portraying the Synis as a violent father. But there was some also about the Kingdom of Thor, portraying her in a similar light. Godmother Syl was glaring at us. What is she angry about? I asked. Mother Syl put down the drawings. He was looking at and glanced over. She probably thinks we are not giving enough attention to Apollo's death and Thor's new lack of a physical form. One could look down. I don't know if I have any tears left. I'm sorry. I messed with my sleeve. How did he die? Her eyes darkened. Mercenary. I frowned, searching for the meaning of that word. Like a foreign soldier? She's a warrior, hired by the Emperor to hunt down Pocket, and by extension, us. Mademoiselle said. A wave of anxiety washed over me. So, would someone like her come after me? The corner of her mouth twitched up. Was she smiling? Possibly. That depends on what got you into prison. If it was a crime like petty theft, then no. Her eyes seemed to bore into me like sunlight through a magnifying glass. But if you were something like a deserter, like Pavokit, or a prisoner of war, or a runaway noble, then yes, most likely. Oh, I rose and tried to talk to Pavokit and Mademoiselle loose. The latter was kind and but spoke to me in Lepusian, but she was much better at speaking than Draconic, so she did not know my dialect. She was sewing a dress. I guess for herself or her sister. So you like to sew? I asked. She nodded. Yes, so it has been some time. I looked at my robe, dirty, worn, and suspicious. Do you think you could make me a new robe? Yes, a few of the refugees were Lepusian, so I have made a couple. Could I take your measurements? You cannot wear all your petticoats, so sorry. I nodded and took off my underskirts. She brought out a tape measure and measured my arms. It felt strange just standing there, so I decided to try and make conversation. So, where do you and Mademoiselle Syl come from? Alder, she said quietly, then quickly said, lift your arms. I did, and she measured my waist, bust, and hips. I'm sorry. I had heard rumors of its destruction whilst traveling through the Powatina countryside, and Alien had confirmed them. It is all right, she said, so her hands and voice shook.
Do Krania wear corsets? She asked, a bit awkwardly. I shook my head. Not in Powatina, at least. I see. She measured the height of my sleeves. Are sleeves traditionally this loose, or just some of them? I nodded. For unmarried girls, yes. Where do you come from? I blinked as she measured from my waist to my ankle. Did Medusalicina not mention it? Grisola? She looked down awkwardly. Yes, she probably did. Sorry. She finished by measuring from my collarbone to my waist. I'm sorry, could you take up the rest of your skirt and spread your arms? I need to see how this is constructed. Nervously, I did as she asked, and she studied my robe, muttering to herself. Could feel a gaze on me and shot a careful glance at Medusalicina, who met it before adjusting her glasses and returning to what she was reading. All right, I am finished. Medusalicina's voice broke through my thoughts. Oh. I pulled my skirts back on. Thank you. You are welcome. She fidgeted awkwardly. Do you have anything else you could wear? I will need to study how the front works. I fidgeted as well, so my discomfort came from the fact I didn't want anyone studying my robe very closely. I suppose I have a cloak and blankets that could cover myself whilst you work. She blinked. Oh, what? Is that a Powatina thing? I smiled and nodded. It just means wild. Why? It was refreshing having my dialect reacted to with innocent curiosity, rather than the contempt of many soldiers. Oh, she fidgeted. Well, thank you. You're welcome, I said. I walked over to Pafokit. He was polite and quick to apologize, and although he sounded like a noble, he did not know much about the world. Drawing a picture of an arachno who, despite looking unfriendly, seemed to use his prickles to hide love, but the whole time, so I tried to hide it, I was distracted by one question. How much does she know?